Do you make gingerbread? Hi, this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. We don't make gingerbread in my house. Is that a confession? I think I already gave that confession when I did the project recipe for our gingerbread collection a few weeks back. But yeah, we don't bake our own gingerbread here. The closest we get is like a molasses cookie, which is really good. We should make some of those. Emily needs to make some of those for us. They're very tasty. They're like that soft, squishy, chewy kind of cookie. Oh, they're yummy. Anyway, let's get to our project for today. Today's layout we're going to do is really involved, but I think you'll find it not difficult. It just has different stages to it. So I hope that you'll hang in there with me and do this layout in your album. I think you're going to love it. I love the way it turned out, and I'm super excited to share it with you. Let's check out my workspace and we'll get started. All right, so here is my workspace for today, and I'm super excited to work with Gingerbread again, our gingerbread collection that came out this year, to do this layout. Now, this is a layout that Melissa Ullman created last year for us. It's called the Get a Taste of this Sugary Sweet layout, and it went together with our Baking Fun collection that came out as a bonus. I think this was either one of the Black Friday bundles or went with the recipe book or something. I can't remember for sure, but anyway, we're going to use this punch today. If you don't have this punch, you can choose another knockout punch that you appreciate and enjoy, and or just find a decorative punch that you can put across the top of this layout. Okay, and I'm turning this one-page layout into a two-page layout and creating a custom design. So I hope that you'll stick around and watch that with us. This is layout number 3 in my series of 12 holiday layouts. So I hope that you're following along and you have done the first 2. They certainly don't necessarily are not linked together or anything like that, but just so you know, there are actually, I think, 3 now, because I started a little early and didn't count the first one, holiday layouts for you to choose from. So I hope that you will do as many of those as you need for your holiday photos. Let's get started with this. So we have the gingerbread paper that we're using. We have the Baking Fun punch. I'm just going to move the punch just a little bit out of the way up here. I have the largest in our set of oval patterns for the custom cutting system, and we're going to use the red blade with this oval. So we're going to set that up there and get to that in a minute. My multi-purpose tool, which is my right arm now, and I can't live without it. We have 2 base papers. These come from the Gingerbread collection, and they're a beautiful representation of the tone-on-tone using the green with the cookies. We're not going to use the frosting side. We're going to use the green side. Okay, so those 2 base sheets, we're just going to set up there out of the way. I have 4 pieces of cardstock out here. I have the Songbird blue, which was new to our line this year, Kelly green, a strip of cranberry red, and a bit of Hot Fudge. We're going to use those, and we're going to punch with them. So you don't necessarily need full sheets of those. You just need pieces. As you can see, I have some just sort of miscellaneous pieces. A full sheet of this one because I did not have a scrap, but scraps of the rest for sure. Okay, so setting those over there, we'll get to those in just a minute. And then I have 3 it's essentially two pieces of our designer paper. I have this one with the cute little gingerbread men going across, gingerbread people, and then this has the sprinkles on the back, which is my smaller piece here. All right. And then I have this one, which has the dusted cookie shapes on the front and the peppermint candies on the back. Okay, so those are the two designer papers that we're going to use today. And I have my scrap here just because I want to be able to use it. So no worries. Okay, so we're going to cut some pieces first of all and punch a few pieces too. And we're going to start by grabbing, let's see, we're going to grab, what should we start with? Which one should we start with? We're going to start with, let's grab this. So I'm gonna grab my trimmer here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut the rolling pin right here. The rolling pin is 8 1/4 by 3. And I want my rolling pin to kind of resemble one of those. Have you seen those fancy rolling pins? Maybe you have one where they have been either had a shape burned into them or cut into them. And when you roll it, it puts the shape into your dough. Oh, aren't they the coolest? All right. I don't have one like that, but I just think they're cool. So I'm going to use this top portion of this paper as my rolling pin so that we kind of get an idea of the shape of the rolling pin. So we need this to be 3 inches. I'm going to cut it here to 3 inches. And actually, you know what? I want to check something here because I kept meaning to look and I didn't ever. Yeah, I'm going to actually just cut around these 2 rows of squiggles so that my rolling pin has both of those on it. Okay, so we're cutting across the tops of the gingerbread men here and then cutting or lining that up at 3 inches and cutting across the bottom of the gingerbread men on this side. All right, so that I get both of those rows of the squiggles, the wavy line that's there. All right, and then I need this to be 8, we said 8 1/4. So I'm going to measure this out to 8 1/4 and cut. Okay, keep this little piece, we're going to use it. Okay, so that's going to be our rolling pin piece. Then we're going to need these 2 end pieces are 1/2 inch. They're 2 1/4 inches by 1/2 inch. So I'm going to measure this piece to 2 1/4. Trim it. Get rid of that extra little nub. And then I'm going to take this piece and just to make it easy on myself, I'm going to go ahead and round all 4 of the corners on this real quick. Okay. So we're just going to get our corner rounder and go in here and round all 4 of those. All right, keep your corner rounder handy. We're going to use it some more today. All right, then we're going to take this piece and we're going to center it over our cutting blade, or cutting line, sorry. And we're going to go ahead and cut it long ways down the middle, just like that, okay? We're going to flip it over and we're going to use this side. That's going to be a part of our rolling pin as well. And then the other piece, okay, I'm going to cut another piece that is 2 1/2 inches. And we're going to make that one, let's see, 2 1/2 inches by 1. So is this 1 inch? Nope, that's 3/4 of an inch. That's too small. So I need a piece that is and that's 2 1/4. I need a piece that is 1 inch. So I'm going to measure this at 1 inch. And then I'm going to measure it at 2 1/2. Then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to round each of the corners of this piece. Then I'm going to cut this in half. Okay, so we want this to be 1 1/4. We want 2 pieces that are 1 1/4. Okay, so just like that. And those are also part of our rolling pin. Okay, so now we have those pieces. Let's focus on our border, and then we'll do our custom portion of what we're going to do. Okay, so I'm going to grab this paper right here and my Baking Fun punch. I'm going to punch 2 rows of this from the cookie side of this paper. So not the mint side, but the cookie side. Let's see how this goes. Come on. Didn't look like it was lined up. I suppose it's okay. If you haven't used one of the CM punches before, I highly recommend that you go to one of my videos, instructional videos, and watch how cool these punches are. They come in a variety of patterns. We're getting new ones all the time, and they are just super fun. Our designers really have a good time creating things that work well with our papers. I'm going to turn this paper around. I'm going to punch another line on this side. Right. Now you can save all these little bits if you want to. They're kind of cool for different reasons, different things. I'm just going to scoot mine over here and I'll decide what to do with them later. We're going to get our trimmer back out again in just a second, but before we do, I'm going to go ahead and run this through, and I'm just concerned about punching those shapes. So I just want to make sure my paper fills in all of those fun shapes. Okay, and I'm going to punch this several times. I actually might even need more paper to do this. We'll have to see. Maybe I can flip that over and get more in. Just about. Okay. Let's do our scrappy. All right. I think I'm going to need some more red cardstock, but that's okay. So now I'm going to just do the same thing with this one. I just need like a bunch that are all there's a bunch of these we will not be using, but because we want to do I want to do a pattern, which is what they've used in our sample, I need quite a few. So I'm going to go ahead. Punch somewhere. Okay. Green. And the blue. All right. Now, if you're working with scraps, by all means, take your time and punch the ones that you want and know you're going to need. I just for the sake of speed to be able to get this done with you, I am not worried about that. So now I'm going to take the punches that the borders that we punched across here, and I'm going to measure these at 1.5 and trim them off. Okay, so we're going to go to 1.5 out here and go ahead and trim and save that. And actually, I'm thinking, because this paper is a gradual, you can see it's darker up here than it was down here. I'm trying to decide if I want to go ahead and punch it again so it's the same color brown on both sides. No, I think I'm going to go ahead and I'll just trim it off and see what it looks like. And if I don't like it, then I'll come back and punch it again. I think it will be okay to have the variation. You can see the difference really well here. So we're going to cut, we're going to get our scallop blade out. So if you have a decorative blade, I'm going to use the scallop. You can use whatever decorative blade you want to. I'm going to come over here and pull this one. The scallop we've had around for a while, and the scallop is a unique one in that most of our blades, no matter how you put them in, they'll give you a reasonably the same design. But the scallop, because you can see if you turn it over, can you see that very well in the camera? You can see how the scallop comes to a point and makes an arch. So that point is on one side, the arch is on the other side. And depending on whether you place this into your blade housing this direction with the points pointing that way, or you can turn it around and you can place it into your blade housing with the points pointing that way. So what I like to tell people is if you're going to measure on the left and you want your canopy or your points to point in towards the larger portion of your measurement, then always put your shutter emblem pointing to the left. Okay, so whichever way your shutter emblem points, that's the direction that the points of your scallop are going to go. Okay, so I'm going to place mine in with the scallop or with the shutter on the left-hand side, facing that way. So my points are going that way, and my rounded arches are going to the right. Okay, and I need to cut this at 3 inches. So this is a little bit different than the directions from the blog, and there's a reason for that. Because of the sticker that I'm going to use, because this is a different collection than the one used here in these instructions. I'm cutting this at 3 inches, and then I'm going to turn this one around and cut it at 3 inches. Ooh, sorry, I just got a strange pain in my hand. Strange. Okay. All right, so we have this much remaining of our cookie cutter paper. We do still have 2 more pieces we need to cut from this paper. And I'm going to need to trim off these to make some straight edges. So I'm going to line this up and make it straight so that I can trim. that pointy edge off. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim the other side. Sorry, this is what happens when I'm thinking while I'm speaking. I should think first and then speak. Okay, there we go. All right, now I can come back in with my scallop blade. Again, pointing to the left. So that means I'm measuring on the left-hand side to 3/4 of an inch. Okay. All right. And that's one piece. And we are using the candy side, so it doesn't matter. Okay, sorry, just reminding myself that it is okay. This is not directional, so we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to worry about which direction our paper is going. 3/4 of an inch. And that is our leftover. All right. Now we're going to switch back to our straight blade so we don't accidentally cut something with the scallop blade. And we're going to put our blade away. There we go. And put that in there. Okay, now we're going to form our two borders that are going to go across the top here. Okay, so we are going to, first thing we're going to do is go ahead and get one of our punched borders. And these are a little bit directional, so you're going to want to be careful about which way you put these on. And as you add your repositionable adhesive, also be careful because there's not a lot to the framework of this border, and it will tear fairly easily. You don't want it to tear, okay? I'm going to put this 1/4 of an inch from the top of, so not the scallop edge, but the top edge of my border. 1/4 of an inch. And now it's going to go down, okay? I'm going to do the same thing with this piece. Okay. Making sure my spoons are facing our spoon side to the top. And then once again, leaving 1/4 of an inch on that top edge. And if you're not sure if you've got it or not, line the two of them up to make sure that you are at least making them even. So if you're off by a little bit, it's okay, but you want to make sure that they are the same. Okay. Now, I'm going to just layer mine right here like this on top of each other just for a minute. And I'm going to grab my lifter stick. If you have a lifter stick, these are awesome. They are sticky on the end, similar to those worms that we used to throw against when we were kids. We'd throw them against the sliding glass door and they would stick. That's this material. It's just kind of a sticky rubbery stuff. Okay, I'm going to take my repositionable adhesive and I'm going to just go right over the top of all of my spoons and spatulas. On the left. Repositionable. All right. So now all of my spoons and spatulas have adhesive. I'm going to just sort of spread all these out in front of me. It's going to look like kind of a disorganized mess. That's okay. And we're going to come in here and we are going to, let's see. I think I had decided to do the spatulas in, let's do the spatulas and the spoons in blue, shall we? All right, so that means I'm going to just grab each one of these little spatulas and spoons, and I'm going to drop them in to the punched out areas. This is called a knockout punch. The punch we used is called a knockout punch because it knocks out shapes, and then you can use those shapes to go back in and fill in the void. Okay, so this is going to take a minute or two. We'll just fast forward it so that you don't have to watch me do every second. Now we are going to do rolling pins. Rolling pins will be in this chocolate color. Hot fudge, so we can add adhesive to all rolling pins, etc. More. Okay, so now we've got all of our cute paraphernalia. And look at all these extra ones we have, right? So we can make some really cute cards, or save those and use them in a recipe book, or you know, they'll be really cute in something else. All right, so now we are going to take each of these borders and we are going to add a border sticker. So I've got these cute border stickers still left, these with the houses on them. And I'm going to add those underneath. I must have gotten what did I goof up here? I feel like I got my measurements messed up. 1 1/2, 1 3/4, 2 1/2, 3. I think my thought was I was going to add this all along the bottom here. Like that. Instead of along an edge. Typically I would add the sticker more along the edge of that cut piece instead. But I didn't do that this time. It is what it is. All right, here's our other border sticker. I don't want you to attach right there. No, come off. Slowly, slowly, slowly. There we go. All right. Yikes. Okay, so this guy's going to go down so that the tops of the houses hit the bottom of where I've cut, where I've trimmed this. If you have, if we caught you in time and you didn't trim yours off of the page yet after you punched it, maybe you can cut it at 2 inches, and then you would place this a 1/2 inch up from the scallop at the bottom, and you'll be good. That part. All right. Well, now what we're going to do is go ahead and assemble some of this. We're going to assemble the left-hand side, or a little bit of it anyway. And then we're going to come back and do the custom work that we're going to do on the right-hand side, because we still need to make a mixing bowl. So we're going to get to that in just a bit here. Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll get our base sheets part way along, and then we'll come back and we'll make our mixing bowl. Okay, so let's go ahead and put these borders on our base sheets. So I'm just going to go ahead and add. Now there is a little bit of directionality to this green paper, so just notice that your people need to be upright, and then you'll find your top side, which is this side over here, and I'm going to adhere this across the top. I mean, unless you want your people sideways, good, you could do it however makes you happy, right? Okay, so that one's going to go there. We're going to take one of these 3/4 inch pieces, and this strip's going to go across the bottom. I suppose we all have someone in the family that's a little sideways, don't we? And You know what they say, if you can't identify the person who is a little sideways in your family, then it's probably you. I'm sure it's one of mine or me that's a little bit off. In our family, we tend to take turns. We all seem to take our turn being the one that's just a little bit off the off kilter. That's all right. As long as you're surrounding yourself by people who can pull you back on, all is well, right? Right. I may need to go through here and rub my fingers and get that repositionable adhesive off of there also, before all is said and done. But for now, it works. And it's good. So it's going to go across the bottom. All right. Now those base pieces are pretty well put together. So I'm going to grab this other sheet right here. And we are going to create a mixing bowl. Now this is going to be a little bit tedious for some of you, and I apologize. If you don't want to do the mixing bowl, don't do it. Just go ahead and add an extra mat and call it good, okay? But for those of you who want just a little bit of a challenge today, we are going to make a mixing bowl to go on our page with our rolling pin, okay? So it's actually going to go on the facing page, but it's going to be designed to go with it. Now think of you need a 6x6 square to make this. So I'm going to use my largest oval, and I'm going to, I put my paper that I'm cutting it out of on, all right, now give me just a second here. I'm trying to remember how I did this, or how I wanted to do this, because the patterned paper was kind of important to me. I wanted the pattern to kind of follow the bowl shape. So I'm glad I remembered that. So I am using the red blade around the outside of the largest oval pattern. If you have the ovals, there are 4 different sizes. You want the biggest one. It's the 5x7 size. Okay, we're going to go across or around the outer edge with the red blade so we get that perfect oval. All right, and then we are going to do some fun measuring, okay? And so you might want to flip it over and measure on the back side because it's a little bit lighter, it's a little bit easier to see. I don't know if you can see my pencil marks on the camera, but this is my sample that I made, okay? So I'm going to get my ruler and a pencil, and I'm going to use my mat, and I'm going to center my oval. If you need to fold it in half to center it, then you might want to do that, because you want to make sure it's as close to center as possible, okay? So that you have a main line going through here that you can mark as center. And then you can mark we really need the center line that goes through here. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure 2.5 inches and use our 0 centering ruler. So we can put that right on the center and put the 2.5 inch line on this bottom line here and find the middle. Okay, I'm going to mark the middle on the, just on the end right there. All right. And I'm going to mark 2 inches in from the top edge. Okay, so you can see that my edge of my oval doesn't go all the way to that mark, but I can still come down knowing that this is 2 inches and just go that much in and mark 2 inches from here. Okay, 2 inches from here is right there. You just need about 1/2 inch of a line right there so you know where that spot is. All right, now let's see. We've got our center mark. I need to know 1 inch from center. So I'm going to come into this first mark here, which is almost 1/2 inch from the edge. And I need to mark it 1 inch up. So let's find, so I'm lining up the center with a half inch here, and going 1 inch up and marking the edge. All right. I'm also going to do the same thing going down. So I'm going to go down and mark the edge at 1 inch this direction from that 1/2 inch mark. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing over here on this side. So I'm going to align this with my grid on my board. All right, here's my center mark. I'm going to go 1 inch up here and mark my edge of my oval. And I'm going to go 1 inch down and mark the edge of my oval here. All right. Now, those marks are just going to help us as we sketch our lines for the edges of our bowl. Okay, that's why I'm having you draw it on the opposite side of the page, opposite side of the paper. Okay, so that you don't have as much, you won't have pencil marks showing, is what I'm trying to get at. Okay, all right. Now, actually, I'm also going to have you, instead of just doing that little 1/2 inch line right there, we are going to extend that line all the way across. And we're going to do that just put a light pencil line all the way across. All right, and that's going to help us as we draw in these lines. Now, we've got center, we've got 1 inch. We need another 1/2 inch to find that point right there. So we're going to go up and mark where this next crossing line is on the oval. I know this is tedious and I'm really sorry. That's why I said if you don't want to do the bowl, you do not have to do the bowl. Of course, you don't have to do any of this. It's all completely voluntary. So anyways, all right. Now we are going to try and remember. Did I use this one? Maybe I used the other one. Hold on. I think I used this one. Yep. Okay, so you use the next smaller oval pattern, and you're just going to line that up so that it is roughly 1/8 of an inch from each of your marks, those top line marks right here. An 1/8 of an inch from each of those, and 1/8 of an inch-ish from the center here. Okay? And then you're going to take your red blade. So the edge of the pattern is 1/8 of an inch from that mark on either side, and 1/8 of an inch from that center spot. Okay, then we're going to take our red blade on the outside, and we're just, okay, hold on, I'm gonna adhere this with just the tiniest little bit of repositionable adhesive, and then we're going to take it off right away because we don't want to lose the color of our paper. Okay, so here's that. We're going to line this up quickly. Just don't want my paper to shift underneath. All right. So there is the top of our bowl. And now I can't get my paper to come off because I glued it down. There you go. Okay. Here's the top of our bowl we just cut off. Maybe that was more like this. Interesting. Anyway, okay. Now we are going to just sort of straighten out these edges just a little bit so that our bowl is not quite so obviously oval. So I'm just going to sketch kind of a straight line about 1/2 an inch. I'm going to put a dot about, not 1/2 an inch. It's about maybe 3/8 of an inch in from my center mark right here. Remember our center mark? We're going to go straight in about 3/8 of an inch and put a little dot. Then we're going to go up to this point right here and just kind of lightly do a pencil line down to that mark, okay? Then we're going to come down here and we're going to go about 1/2 an inch below the 1 inch mark. So this was our center mark. This is our 1 inch mark below that. We're going to go another 1/2 inch along that edge. Okay, and then we're going to extend this line down. Curve it just the tiniest bit. All right. And that's going to be our bowl. We're going to do the same thing over here. So again, come to your center mark. Go in about 3/8 of an inch. There's nothing precise about this, so just do your best, okay? Just do your best. Then we're going to come down here to the 1 inch mark below our center. Go about 1/2 an inch along that line and put a mark. And use that as your eye to curve that line around. All right. And then those we're going to fiddly cut and just use these scissors to come in here and cut on the outside of that line. All right, we're going to do the same thing on this side. If you have a point here, you might want to just kind of round it just a little bit more. There's our bowl. All right. Whew, we can breathe again. Take this piece that we cut out of our bowl, and we're going to place that back inside. Should fit right in that opening. All right, and there's our fun little, cute little mixing bowl. Okay, just like that. All right, now let's grab our layout. Oh, I was going to make a spoon too. I haven't made a spoon yet. Oh, that's all right. We'll get to it eventually. Okay, we're going to put some, we need to round the corners of this piece. This is the piece that we made to be our rolling pin, and we need to round the corners. So use your CM corner rounder and jump in here, round these corners. I don't use this tool as often as I used to. Once upon a time, I rounded all the corners of everything. Now I don't do it hardly at all. So it's fun when I get to pull out my corner rounder because we're old friends. All right. A little bit of adhesive there. Okay, now we're going to put this, we're going to make it centered, but kind of at a jaunty angle. Okay, so up just a little bit on our paper. Like so. And we're going to come in here with each of these cute little sprinkle pieces. These are going to go right on the end. So just sort of center them right on the end like that. On the end like that. And we're going to grab these other little pieces we made. These are our handles. These are going to go, make sure you get the proper side exposed. These are going to go right on the end like that. So those are our handles for our cute little rolling pin. You'll know if you didn't get your rolling pin, the center part, centered just so, because your handles won't fit. You'll be off the edge. So try, you may have to, move this just a couple times to make sure you get it in the right spot. All right. Okay, so there's our rolling pin. Let's grab the other side. The other side's going to have our bowl. Now, I was trying to decide if, let me get some of this craziness a little bit more out of the way so you can see what I'm looking at. Trying to decide, I was thinking the bowl could go over here and kind of be tipped. And it could be tipping out. And then we could have a spoon kind of in here. But it's also possible we could put the bowl tipping this way. I don't know. I think I like it with the bowl tipping this way, because then we can make some cookie dough flowing out of the bowl. So we're just going to place this guy right in there like that. I'm going to erase my little pencil marks that are on the corners. All right, so there's our cute little bowl. Let's make a little spoon. I'm just looking through my scraps here. Hang on a second. All right, I'm going to use some cranberry. We're going to make a spoon real quick. I'm going to cut a piece that is 1/2 inch. I'm going to grab that same number 2. If the biggest one is number 1, then this one is number 2. And we're going to I think this should be an okay size. Let's see. Add that. I think the handle's a little long. What do you think? But we can trim it. That's not a big deal. I'm going to cut this at 9 inches. Okay, so it goes all the way to the edge of my oval over here. And I'm going to grab my corner rounder and kind of round, just barely put my corner rounder, or put that paper into my corner rounder so that I can just nip off the edge there. All right, so if you got the recent Black Friday bundle with the Christmas inks, this is Love Letter. It's a very close but darker red. So this is my scrap. I just tried it on, and you can see that it is just a little darker, just enough, because we just want to be able to put a shadow on our spoon, right? So we're going to open our ink up and get our fancy brush. Okay, we're going to tap it on our ink so we have a little bit of ink on that brush. I'm going to turn my spoon this way, and I'm going to try to put most of my shadow in the base of my spoon. Okay, so we're just going to work it in circles, kind of in the middle of the spoon. So just working it kind of in circles around, just to give that spoon a little bit more definition, just right in the middle. I'm going to go for just, again, my artistic ability when it comes to this stuff is a little bit on the limited side. I am just learning like most of you. So, but I think I'm going to go with that. Okay, just darkening that up just enough to give it the illusion. Actually, I think I'm going to do just a little bit more. Just the illusion of there being a little more depth to the center of that. Look, I'm getting ink on my mat. I don't want ink on my mat. Okay, so we're gonna be done right there. Super fun. I love the covers that we have for these brushes. It just makes me feel so much better about just laying stuff down, right? Okay, so now let's jump back into our layout here and figure out where to put our spoon. All right, so we can lean it up against the bowl. We could lay it this way and kind of in the bowl this way. I don't know. We could do a lot of things with our spoon. Maybe I'll just sort of leave it up like that. I had initially thought if I cut some paper, I could make some dough that was sort of falling out onto the table right here. And I thought that would be cute. So if you want to play with that, be my guest. We could even use a little bit of this to make some lumpy dough. And actually, hang on one second. I have, if you have a cloud punch like this or the other cloud punch, my other cloud punch broke. It made me cry. I was so sad. But this cloud punch will work. And we can just use this scrap. It looks like dough, don't you think? I think it looks like dough. I'm just going to punch this edge. So that I have just kind of a mound of cookie dough. Because cookie dough, right? Because cookie dough. Do it one more time and kind of angle it down just a little. Maybe. I can't see because there's a scrap in there. Trim that off. Maybe I'll be able to get the angle that I'm looking for better. Almost. All right. I like that. That turned out much better than I could have cut it by hand. So, cool beans. Okay, let me just fix this one because it didn't quite cut all the way. All right. Now we can can put that right on top. Hold on, we're going to trim this. So I'm going to make it go all the way to, actually I just had a brilliant idea. Let's make it go all the way onto the other page. So let's, just going to add this little teeny bit on to the edge of mine, just kind of like that. Okay, and I'm going to line up my papers. Tuck that right underneath. Hold on, I want it to be a little more lined up, like it's spilled out on the countertop, so it's straight. So like that, and then I'll just come in with the scissors and cut those apart. Guys, I think I've gone off the rails this time. Now we need our spoon. And our cookie dough. Oh, goodness. Okay, now, if you want to mat your photos, they do in the sample, they have mats on their photos. And the mats pick up the same color as the spoons and the spatulas up here. You can pick up whatever color makes you happy, but I would suggest you probably not use green since your background is green. I would say probably either use the brown, the Hot Fudge, or the Cranberry, or the Songbird blue that's up there would all look nice as the mats for your photos. And because I have a bunch of Songbird blue, since I happen to start this big full-size paper, or I have red, we could do probably either one. Since I'm making this for Christmas, I would probably say I would probably use red because I like red, but you could definitely make your mats with this and it would look nice. Or I think since I have this page already cut into, I'm just going to use this page, and we will just make some quick mats to go on here and then place some embellishments and we will be good to go. All right, so let's just do, I'm just going to cut these into 4-inch pieces, and we'll do 2 4x6 photo mats. Let's do 3 4x4s and see what that gets us. See what we can fit. This is now a 3.5. So let's do a 3.5 by 5.5. And we'll do a 3.5 by 3.5 square. All right, let's see what we can fit with that. We could do a vertical and a horizontal. Maybe do that smaller one. We could do that. These are our 4x4s. Certainly do those, or we could do 3 4x4s. On there. Just depends on what you like and how much or what types of photos that you have. I'm a big proponent of use or make your photos work with the layout that you have, or your layout work with your photos. I mean, make your layout work with your photos. So we've got, I went ahead and put together some clusters so that it would be faster and easier to share embellishments with you. Here is one that I was going to add in. What if we cut these down and made these just a little bit smaller? Then we could do 3 of them up that way. And we could do our embellishments kind of right in there. And I don't know if I want to add this cluster now that I have this super cute spoon and bowl in here. I might have to make this cluster a little bit differently. We'll save this one for another day and make something different for over here. If we just put some cookies from some snowflake cookies from the sticker pack. Those would look nice, just kind of right in there. Just to kind of add just a little something, something. And this one up here, I wanted to play with. So I want my pointed scissors. I'm going to come in here and cut around this gingerbread man's hand. and then cut into this guy just to make him not look like a chunk's been taken out of him, right? So we're just gonna round those edges just a little. That helps a lot. Okay, and then these, I'm gonna take this star off the end. Smooth this guy out just a little. Okay, just kind of like doing surgery. Now I'm going to add a little repositionable adhesive to the back of his hand and make him be attached to this guy. Okay, so repositionable on the back of him and on the back of that cute little tag. We're going to scooch these guys over to make better use of our space. And we're going to make him like that. And then come on, stars stuck to my table. And then this cute little star is going to go here on the end of that sweet little lady. And we've got our cute little gingerbread family still together. Oops, I needed to line those pages up before I set that down. My bad. Let's line those pages up. So that baby can hang on to Dad. All right, so that'll go there. And I think I'm going to cut these down and make them just a little bit smaller. So we'll make them 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. And that way you can put a 3.5 inch picture inside there. I think that's gonna work nicely. Tell me what you think. I know this has been a long lesson, so hopefully you are still with me and enjoying this. But you'll see the finished picture on the thumbnail for this, and hopefully it's one that you'll want to do and find easy to accomplish. It's a fun one. I like the way it turned out. Thanks so much for joining me today for, I think this was number 3, right? Number 3 in our 12 layouts for Christmas for the holiday season. And this is fun. Until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments. Enjoy your day.